I'm Steve Murphy, and welcome to the Insider Exclusive. Today we go inside the world of the Federal Employers Liability Act and how Don Britt of the Crow Law Firm taught Union Pacific Railroad a $48 million lesson in corporate responsibility. Stay tuned. I'm very pleased to have with us today the two lawyers that made all of this happen. Don Britt, welcome to the show.
Nice to be here, Steve.
John Gilbert.
Nice to be here,
You're
Steve.
both with the Crow Law Firm.
That's correct.
Yes.
Tell us what happened with Eric Doy.
Well, Eric was an employee of the Union Pacific Railroad, and he had gone to work for them in 2005. He is a resident and grew up in Southern California, and he was hired in what is known as the signal department.
He's actually out in the field all the time.
Yes.
I understand that from the motel, he was on assignment going out to the job location, correct?
No, actually, the sequence of events on the day of the accident is that Eric flew to Tucson, and Mr. Torres took the company truck and picked him up at the airport. The ultimate destination was back at the hotel. Torres had already checked into the hotel, and he then, because all of the members of the gang had keys to the truck, he then used the truck to pick Eric up at the airport. The uncontradicted testimony at the trial was that the members of the gang had the authority to use the truck. So Mr. Torres picked up Mr. Doy, and then they went and stopped on their way to the motel at a Walmart to purchase certain things that were necessary for them to complete their work. In this case, one of the key elements that we focused on was a drink called Pedialyte. It's an electrolyte replacement fluid. And because of the working conditions, and this was very important in this case, the men worked under extreme heat. The testimony was it could be 110 degrees plus. The work was very difficult. They sweated profusely, and they needed electrolyte replacement in order to work safely.
So they purchased this drink and other things that they needed.
Yes.
They're on their way to the job site?
They're going back to the motel to check in.
Going back to the motel. What happened then?
Well, at that point, they were on a frontage road running parallel to the interstate highway that they were going to take back into the city of Tucson. And Mr. Doy was the passenger. He was the only other occupant of the vehicle. Mr. Torres was the driver. Mr. Torres became distracted, took his hand off the wheel. The vehicle, which was a Ford 550 commercial pickup truck.
Big utility truck.
Big utility truck. It drifted off the road. The right wheels got onto the soft shoulder. It was later demonstrated through our accident reconstructionist that Torres was going approximately 20-25 miles over the 40-45 mile an hour speed limit. And rather than control the vehicle to a slowed stop, did what a lot of people would do in emergency. He cranked the steering wheel back to the left, lost control. The vehicle went into a violent swerve, crossed the highway, went up an embankment, through a fence, turned around, and ended up rolling in what we would call the slow lane of the interstate. And during that roll, Mr. Doy's neck was fractured.
What happened as a result of this accident?
Eric was deemed to be a C4-5 quadriplegic, so
Right.
the break was actually in the C4-5.
In the
area of his neck.
Wow. And as a result of this, what happened to Eric?
Well, Eric is, the medical diagnosis is that he is a C4 quadriplegic. And what it means practically, he has no feeling from his nipple line down or movement. He has no bowel or bladder control. He has no use of his fingers. His fingers are bent, as I'm trying to demonstrate to you here.
Virtually no fine motor skills in his fingers.
He has some gross function of his arms. So in one of his wheelchairs, his manual wheelchair, he can push using some special gloves. He can push on the wheels.
Right now, we're going to go and show some of the scenes where we show him in the hospital. Let's go to that right now. So we can see that for the rest of his life, he has severe medical problems here. Now, a case like this, and this is why we're doing this story at all, is it's pretty clear to both you and most everybody who's watching this show that if somebody's on the job, they're driving in a company truck, they went to pick up something that was needed for the workplace, right? That it's a company disaster. I mean, it's something that the company should be responsible for, but that wasn't Union Pacific Railroad's response, was it?
No, it wasn't. And what we should point out at this point is that the railroad industry is unique from certain other industries in that neither the railroad nor the employees are governed by state workers' compensation laws.
They're governed by what?
It's called the Federal Employers Liability Act. It was a congressional enactment first passed in 1908. And it holds that the railroad can only be held responsible for an injury if the railroad was negligent or violated certain safety statutes.
Right.
And it's a situation where, unlike workers' compensation, we have to prove fault. We also have to demonstrate that the employee at the time of the event was in the course and scope of their employment.
Those are very important words, aren't they? In the course and scope of employment, because Union Pacific said that these guys were not in the course and scope of their employment, right? They're out screwing around someplace.
They said that Eric was commuting that day. He was commuting from Los Angeles to Arizona, and therefore that was one of the basis of their defenses. And the other defense, they said, was that they're going to the Walmart to purchase whatever they purchased was a personal errand, and therefore they said that they were not in the course and scope.
Ultimately, you won at the trial level, didn't you?
Yes.
And you won a huge amount. In fact, I think it's the largest verdict, right, in the history of FELA. Is that correct?
It is.
48 million? Was it 48 million?
It was a little over. The verdict was a little over 48 million, with some credits that I won't get into now. But the verdict, the judgment was entered was about 48 million and about 11,000 and so forth. And one of the reasons that it is, quote, the largest is because of the enormity of the loss.
You've done a remarkable job, and I'm glad you came here today so the world can see this. How can folks get a hold of you? What's your website and your telephone number?
Well, we have a website. It's crowlaw.com. We also have an 800 number for the Sacramento office, which is 800-795-6555. And in Southern California?
800-499-9904.
Well, thank you for being great lawyers, and thank you for being on the show, John.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. You can get more information about our guest and the issues at insiderexclusive.tv. Come back again.